Holy patch notes, Batman. DICE has just released one of the biggest patch notes, bug fix, changelog things that I've ever seen. I mean, they could have sold this thing on Amazon. It is so long. There's a ton of information in it, and it's about Battlefield 5 beta updates. There's actually some really cool stuff here, some major changes and overhauls to the game design system, and I've kind of read through the whole thing and filtered out some of the stuff you might not be interested in, and going to tell you what you absolutely need to know for getting into the Battlefield 5 beta. Also, I'd like to commend DICE for putting together such a thorough list of changes to the game, and not just changes, but actually at this state in the game, making some major overhauls to just the way the game plays, the game system. This isn't just tweaking numbers and properties, but actually saying, hey, does this system actually work the way we want it to? No? Okay, let's redesign it. And so there's some complete redesigns in here that you'll definitely want to pay attention to. All right, let's start from the top. Weapon time to kill has been quantified a bit better. It is slower than Battlefield 4, but appears to be a bit faster than Battlefield 1, with a much bigger emphasis on headshots. Weapons do not have anywhere near the same amount of spread as they did in Battlefield 1, making headshots a much bigger priority and a way to sort of defeat your opponents. If you're both doing the same amount of damage, the person to shoot the other player in the head first is probably going to win that firefight. Spread mechanics have also been updated a bit. There's a lot of little details in here, but for the most part, it seems like it's going to be overall a little bit more forgiving, especially with single shot weapons like DMR style guns, where you can spam fire them quicker and maintain good accuracy with them. A lot of weapon balance has been updated since the alpha. The STG tap firing has been nerfed with higher recoil, but has less recoil for full auto fire. So you're not going to be able to plink fire people at range quite as effectively. The Gewehr 43 got a pretty big nerf overall in recoil and range damage. I don't know if I agree with this, but we'll have to test it in game. The Bren got a lot more accurate overall, but I think they might have nerfed some of the range damage from it slightly. The Kar 98 may have seen a velocity buff, but a damage nerf. Personally, I think the bolt action snipers in Battlefield 5 are going to be really hard to get into, especially if you're used to sniping from Battlefield 1. We'll have to play around with it a bit more in the beta and see how they hold up in some of the bigger, wide open maps like Arctic Fjord. Time to death is something that DICE has been talking about a lot. Basically, players were happy with the experience of shooting enemies, but not happy with the experience of dying super fast to enemies. So how do you remedy that? Well, they work on time to death, trying to give players more warning about when they're getting shot, from what direction they're getting shot, and also they're giving players a med pack now. Every player starts off with a med pack, so you can heal yourself once to full health after taking damage from an enemy. So if you survive a firefight but you're low on health, you can now heal yourself all the way back up, but you can only do it once until you get resupplied from a medic or go up to a supply station. They've also done some things like adding more blood splatter on screen to indicate getting shot, and more tactical screen shake to better indicate the direction that you're taking damage from. So just more tools to try and let players know what's happening to them and how much damage they're actually taking. Player visibility is getting a lot of changes. They've added rim lighting that basically is adjusted per map and even per area of each map, that provides basically a slight silhouetted glow around enemy players, and this should make them stand out from the environment a bit better. This is something that's probably going to need a lot of tweaking and a lot of finessing to get it looking right and not too fake, but I think this is something that's definitely needed in Battlefield games, since some players will just be able to hide in dark corners and not be seen at all. This should hopefully fix that situation. Particle effects have been reduced, thanks to literally everyone on the planet saying it was way too flippin' intense. So the snowstorm intensity, all that stuff, has been taken back. However, DICE is still saying that there will be extreme weather effects in the game that's going to reduce visibility. They will just be less frequent and for shorter periods of time. So DICE still wants the extreme weather, but they're conceding and saying, you know what, maybe it shouldn't be happening the entire time you're playing Arctic Fjord. Lots of soldier animations and sequences have been tweaked. The syringe revive should not have the sort of dead time after it where you can't move your soldier anymore. They've reduced the recover time when dropping off of a high area and landing. Now that animation should be faster. They've also increased the weapon pickup distance. Sometimes you had to crouch to pick up a gun. Now you shouldn't have to do that anymore. Vaulting has also had a lot of refinements to make the unintentional initiations of a vault less common. They've also increased your ability to look around while vaulting, and they've increased the distance on ledge grabbing. This is something that's being added into Battlefield 5, where if you try and jump across an open area and you need to grab onto a ledge, I think you can hit jump again to grab that ledge. It was just a bit hard to do in the alpha. They've made it easier now. Crouch sliding is in the game. It's now initiated with a double tap of the crouch button that commits players to a slide which they cannot get out of early. There's also a 2-second cooldown for slides, so you can't really spam them. They've also added an anti-ADAD spam system, which slows down acceleration of a player after detecting 2 really quick direction changes. This means you can still move around quickly, but if you try to ADAD dodge, you will slow down too much and it'll probably be ineffective. Explosions will now push ragdolls around the map. This will look pretty darn cool when artillery strikes and grenades are landing in an area with a bunch of dead players. Revives have been made a lot faster, both syringe revives and buddy revives. Buddy revives now restore full health, which is pretty awesome. And they also have better animation transitions. Dead teammates now settle faster. So basically, if you're waiting for your dead teammate to become revivable and standing around their dead body, that should be a lot faster now. They have better man down icons showing if a player is requesting a revive. And you can now give up upon death or call for help. A bug has been fixed where if you killed a medic who was reviving someone, you would get awarded 2 kills. Now you only get 1 kill. They now have company progression in the game. This is actually really exciting. It's something I was hoping would be in this version of the beta. There's a chapter rank, which is exclusive for the Tides of War game mode. So we'll get a rank specifically around that game mode. We now have unlockable gadgets to each class. So as you rank up your class, you'll get more gadgets to use. Keep in mind, this is a beta version of the game. Not all gadgets are in the game. And so I think they've shifted some things around, or the unlock timing of it, just so it'll be more accessible. Weapon progression is also unlocked, so you'll be able to progress down a weapon tree and pick different upgrades for it. This is really exciting. It's our first taste of this new progression system. And the same has been added with vehicles as well. So I guess vehicle customization won't be in, but vehicle progression will be in. So visual customization, no. Progression, yes. There's a new part of the game called the Armory, which allows you to sort of unlock new weapons and check out your new gear and stuff like that, which allegedly is accessible from in-game. Hopefully this means achievements and assignments can all be completed and accepted from in-game and not having to back out of the server and do it in the menu. Airplanes are getting a lot of love this time around, and it should be our first look at how air versus infantry versus armor combat actually performs and balances. First of all airplane machine guns are going to do a lot more damage. This means they can do more damage to infantry and other aircraft, making ground strafing runs possible and air combat faster and more decisive. They also have better maneuverability, better speed. The flight ceilings on Narvik have been increased so that there's more opportunities for dogfighting and aerial maneuvers. All bombs have had their blast radius significantly increased. And when it comes to spotting, airplanes will actually have progression unlocks that you can choose to get that allow you to spot ground targets better. So this basically answers all my questions about how the hell is air versus ground combat going to actually work, and it sounds like a lot of improvements have been made here. Can't wait to test them out in the beta. Narvik, aka Arctic Fjord, has gotten a pretty big overhaul. There's been a major lighting pass to improve visual quality. Hopefully that means no more pitch black areas inside of buildings. There's new fortification locations that's based off of the telemetry from the alpha. So biggest combat areas or certain areas that they want to increase combat or cover, they've moved the cover system or fortification system over there. Supply stations have also been moved and changed based on the same telemetry. Invisible walls are now gone from airplane combat. Thank God for that. Rotterdam, although you guys haven't played it yet, they've done some updates there. You can now build vehicle denial areas, which are those hedgehog systems. The support class should be able to build those, so tanks won't be able to get past certain areas. This is a pretty cool and interesting update to the map. The mini-map has location names on it now, which should be fun for callouts, and it also has a compass. Auto spotting has been fixed. This is the thing where in the alpha, if you would ADS at somebody, it would just put a red marker over their head and it became very easy to like see where they were, especially if somebody was hiding in a bush somewhere. Squad leader mutiny is back, so if your squad leader is not accepting your orders or your order request, then you can mutiny them and take over the squad leader position. You now only regenerate 30 points of health once you're out of combat, instead of just auto-regenning up to 70 points of health. I guess that means you could regen to full health, but you'll only regen 30 points at a time, except for the assault class, who regens 40 points at a time. DICE has labeled what they're calling combat roles. Some of these things we already know, but it's just their way of better defining the difference between different classes. The Assault's combat role is the ability to regen that 40 points of health at a time. The Medic's ability is a syringe revive, so the syringe is no longer a swappable gadget, but something that you will always have, and is basically your ability. Support is the fortification expert, so basically you can build faster than anyone, and you can build fortifications that nobody else can build. The Recon has tactical retreat, which means they sprint faster when critically hurt. This is basically the pansy ability. Run away and scream like a little girl when you get shot at. Personally, I think it would be cool if the Recon's ability instead of this was the ability to spot with the Q button and have it be the only class that could do 3D spotting. I think that would be kind of interesting instead of forcing them to switch to a spotting gadget. There's now a supply crate reinforcement where if you drop it down, it gives you health and ammo, and you can call it down in a specific area. Bullet penetration has now been more implemented, especially with machine guns. So machine guns on stationary emplacements and vehicles will now go through a lot more stuff, but they'll have reduced damage after bullet penetration. Pistols can now penetrate doors with reduced damage. Shotguns will have upgrade projectiles that can penetrate wood and stuff like that. Glass can also now be penetrated by bullets. I was noticing some sniper shots seem to be stopped by glass areas. And grenades will also now be thrown through glass instead of bouncing off of them. There's gradual fire damage buildup now. So basically, if somebody throws an incendiary grenade on you, it might not do a huge amount at first, but if you're caught in it for a little bit longer, it'll do more damage over time. Also, fire that is super low lying, like below your boot level, will not cause damage when you are standing in it, but if you go prone, you will then take damage. This should prevent you from taking lots of tiny bits of damage as you're running around the map. Also, Spectator Mode is implemented, and it has basically all the major features from Battlefield 1 and then even more. So people who really like doing cinematic shots or cool screenshots from in-game, this is great news. Anyway, that wraps it up for what I consider to be the most important changes included in this massive list of patch notes. If you would like to read the entire list for yourself, I'll put a link in the video description. As always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.